Today's topic is a very common question. Why are there so many forms of God? Wouldn't one form of God have been enough? Why is it so complicated? It's so difficult, even if you understand it yourself, to explain it to others who don't understand it. Well, there's a science behind it, and it's not something that should be understandable in one or two sentences. It's God, after all. He's unlimited. He has unlimited powers and virtues. Some things take a little time to understand. But with your base of knowledge, we'll briefly go through the science behind God's various forms. When we talk about the forms of God, if we're starting from the very beginning, we have to first distinguish between Bhagwan and the Devtas of Swarg. That's the first distinction we have to make, because Bhagwan is divine. Bhagwan is God with a capital G. And Devtas in Swarg, like Indra, Vayu, Kuber, Agni, etc., they are not Ishwar. They are not the Supreme Lord. They are not even divine. They are also under Maya. If you ask someone to name all the forms of God that they can think of, many times people will also add in names of these Devtas, but that's incorrect. That's not God at all. These are material posts, like being elected to president. A soul of this world, if they do enough good karma, their punya could result in them attaining one of those posts. Sri Maharaji has said that we've all become Indra before, unlimited times. These posts are only temporary posts. You serve in the celestial administration as one of God's employees, helping to administer the affairs of the earth planet. You can say as part of the spiritual government. You serve, but then you're relieved of your duty after a certain period of time, and you're sent back here to be born here on earth again. Gayanti deva kil geetakani dhanyastu ye bharat bhumi bhage. In Pandav Gita, it is told that those Devtas in Swarg actually regret having gone to Swarg, even though they have such a big, important post, because they understand they're still under Maya. They're not perfectly happy because there's no divine happiness over there. And they're actually wishing and waiting for a turn to be born as human on earth again. They're praising us, those great Devtas of Swarg. That's why in Vedas, the word pramudha has been used for those who go to Swarg, whether they be part of the general public in Swarg or part of the administration. Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadantya vipaschitah vedavadarta partha nanyadastiti vadinah. Gita. Shri Krishna says the same thing. Those who give nice flowery speeches encouraging people to perform Vedic rituals for the attainment of Swarg, they are fools, and those who follow them are even more foolish. These Devtas get their power from Bhagwan. They have no divine power of their own. Many of you would have heard the story from Kena Upanishad, when, after having defeated the Asurs with the power, with the help they got from Bhagwan, the Devtas got proud, feeling that we have won, we defeated the Asuras. And they weren't acknowledging in their heart or outwardly that they only won because God helped them. So Bhagwan Shri Krishna decided to teach them. So he appeared there in Swarg. He took avatar in Swarg, where they were all gathering and celebrating. And he appeared in the form of a yaksh, which is a giant, luminous celestial being. But this yaksh was so luminous that all those devtas, despite their power, they could barely look at Bhagwan in this form, and they didn't recognize who it was. And they were all curious. So they all went to Indra, and Indra said, well, Agni is the brightest of all. He's the god of fire. Agni Dev, you go. Try to find out who that is. Tamabhyavadat tadabhyadravat kosityag Upanishad tells that Agni Dev rushed towards Bhagwan in the form of this yaksh, and with great pride demanded to know, who are you? So Bhagwan said, who are you? Agni Dev said, I am Jataved, I am the great god of fire. Bhagwan says, oh, okay, so what do you do? He says, what do I do? Yeah, what are your powers? My powers? With a little bit of my power, I can turn this whole Brahmand to ashes. Bhagwan says, okay. He puts a little piece of dry grass in front of him, tinka, and he challenged him to burn that. And Agni Dev scoffed at the challenge. He was insulted, but when he tried to burn it, Bhagwan had turned the power switch off to Agni Dev's abilities. So he couldn't burn that insignificant little piece of grass. He himself had become cold. So without another word, he just slinked back. And when they asked him, so who is it? Who is it? He just didn't say anything. So he said, okay, Vayu, you go. Vayu went with the same pride and demanded to know, who are you? Bhagwan responded the same way, who are you? He said, I am Vayudev. Oh, okay, so what can you do? What can I do? Yes, what are your powers? Oh, I'm so powerful I can smash everything, turn the whole world upside down. Oh, Bhagwan says, and puts the same little piece of grass in front of him and says, Can isko hilao zara? Just see if you can blow that around a little bit. Vayudev thought it was a joke, but Bhagwan insisted, no, really, show me. So he says, okay, and Bhagwan turned the power switch off. Vayu himself became still, let alone trying to move that little piece of grass. So he also, Bhagwan released him, and he was embarrassed and returned back and didn't give any answer. So the remaining devtas said, Indra, you're our king. You go and find out who he is. But Indra is the most proud of all. So Bhagwan didn't even give him an up-close darshan. As he approached, he just disappeared. And in his place, Uma Devi appeared. She wasn't in disguise, so Indra recognized her, and he bowed down and asked her, Mataji, who was that who was just here? And she said, oh, that was Bhagwan. He came in that form to teach you all a lesson, that you get your power from him. You do nothing on your own. Shri Krishna had to teach Indra a lesson one other time as well. You'll remember when he had told all the Brajwasis that instead of worshipping Indra, they should worship the cows, the Brahmins, and Govardhan Hill. So Indra became furious and tried to wash away all the residents of Braj in a terrible rainstorm. Shri Krishna held up Govardhan Hill for a whole week while all the Brajwasis sheltered beneath it, getting the close personal association of their beloved Shyam Sundar that entire time. And afterwards, Indra realized his mistake and he came and apologized to Shri Krishna. And Krishna told him, you serve at my behest, Now keep doing your duty as Indra, but without pride. Understand that you're only serving me, and do so with your mind in me. Indra took the Agya and went and did his duty as he was told. So the Devtas are not to be considered Bhagwan. They are Mayic beings, more powerful Mayic beings than we are, but nonetheless Mayic. So we understand this much. Devtas, when we're talking about forms of God, Bhagwan ke roop, we put Devtas aside. They are not forms of God. They're employees of God. Now let's talk about forms of God, Bhagwan himself. Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yajnanamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. This is the third time I'm quoting this shlok from the Bhagavatam already this week. It's a very useful shlok because it summarizes the whole divine phenomena. There's one supreme power, Shri Krishna, Parat Par Tattva, Advaya Jnana Tattva, Satchidananda Bhagavan. And he has three main forms. As himself, Shri Krishna, when he's revealing all of his power, he appears as Shri Krishna. We call that form Bhagavan, or Veda Vyasji refers to it as Bhagwan in this shlok. When he's not revealing his Prema Shakti, his power of divine love, then he doesn't appear exactly the same. He looks similar, but he has four arms. And instead of holding a flute, he's holding weapons. And instead of a peacock feather and standing at in a stylish way, Tribhangi Lal, he's straight and serious. And there's no peacock feather because that's the symbol of Prema Shakti. In other words, he's Mahavishnu. What's different? Just the Prema Shakti is concealed. He's still the same Shri Krishna. He's nobody else. Nothing has been removed. It's just not revealed outwardly. Just like when you go to the office, you conceal your playful, loving nature. You behave in a formal, serious way. It's the same you. You haven't lost anything. You're just not revealing your total personality. You're restricting what others see. So when Shri Krishna conceals that power of divine love, he appears as Mahavishnu. As Mahavishnu, obviously he has a form, and many of his qualities are exhibited, but he doesn't perform leelas. He doesn't engage in playful interactions with his devotees or with Radharani. So there's no leelas, and we say there's no parshad. It means there are no associates of his who get to interact with him in a personal way. Of course, there are saints in his abode, but they sit in his court and admire him on his throne, like subjects would admire their king from a distance. We call that Shant Bhav, Shant Ras. That's Shri Krishna's almighty form, which is referred to in this shlok by Veda Vyasji as Paramatma. When Shri Krishna is revealing his total power, all of his divine qualities, he is referred to as Bhagwan. When he's concealing the power of divine love, but still revealing his form, his beauty, his almighty glory, his godliness, his grace, his kindness, then he's in the form of Mahavishnu. if he conceals all of his powers, or almost all of his powers, then even his form is not revealed, and he performs no actions, doesn't do anything, doesn't think anything, doesn't hear anything, doesn't see anything, doesn't know anything. He's just an inactive divine existence we call Brahm. Like you when you go to sleep. It's still the same you. You haven't lost anything, but none of your personality is being revealed. If somebody looks at a sleeping person and says to someone else, this person is very strong, he'll say, oh, I'll have to take your word for it. He's sleeping right now. He's not exhibiting any strength. Well, this person is very kind and loving. I'll have to take your word for it. Right now he's sleeping. So all of God's powers are dormant in that Brahm aspect, Nirakar Brahm. It's the same Shri Krishna. Just like water has 3 states, liquid, solid as ice, and vapor as steam. These are not 3 different substances. It's the same thing. If you analyze it chemically, it's all H2O. It's just representing itself differently. But even though it's exactly the same internally, it's one substance. If you ask for ice on a hot day and somebody brings you boiling water and tries to argue with you that it's H2O, you asked for ice, I brought you boiling water, but basically you asked for H2O, I brought you H2O. So what's the problem? You say, well, it's 100 degrees out, and I don't want boiling water, I want ice. The use of water in those different forms is different. Your experience of water in those different forms is different, even though internally it's the exact same substance. So even though someone may say, there's no difference between Krishna and Vishnu, there's no difference between Krishna and Nirakar Brahm. Internally, you're exactly right. But externally, your experience of formless God, Almighty God, or loving Shri Krishna is going to be very different. If you want to do some loving leelas, if you want to do ras, are you going to do ras with Nirakar Brahm? How is Nirakar Brahm going to sing or dance? You can't even do ras with Mahavishnu, even though you'll say, oh, it's Shri Krishna. No. Just like you don't play in your office. Krishna doesn't do ras as Mahavishnu. So depending upon the experience we desire, we can worship Shri Krishna as formless, Nirakar Brahm. We can worship him in his almighty form. We can worship him in his loving form. The almighty form, the pure almighty form, Vishnu, and the pure loving form, Radha Krishna, in between that, there's one more form of Shri Krishna, Sitaram. In Sitaram, there is a revelation of that divine love power, but in a limited way, in a somewhat restricted way. So it's not fully revealed. Which means the almighty quality, the godly dignity is seen. So we see that in Sri Ram's Leelas, that he's more reserved, and his devotees are also more formal around him than Sri Krishna's devotees are. There may be a full moon in the sky, which is very impressive at night. But where is that moon getting its light from? The sun. It's just reflecting the light of the sun. So when the sun rises, the light of the moon becomes negligible. It's still there. The light of the moon has not diminished at all, but it's negligible in front of the light of the sun. Similarly, the almighty power, which is referred to as Sandhini Shakti, that merges into Ahladini Shakti, the power of bliss. And the essence of bliss is Prema Shakti, the power of divine love. So that power of divine love gives life. That Prema Shakti gives life to all the divine phenomena, all the divine abodes, all the divine powers. What I mean to say is, to the extent that Prema Shakti is revealed, in the same amount, the power of almightiness is less noticeable. So in Sitaram, the power of divine love is partially revealed, so the power of almightiness partially merges, just like the light of the moon basically merges into the light of the sun. But in the form of Radha and Krishna, because the Prema Shakti is fully revealed, therefore, that almightiness disappears entirely, merges completely, or submerges in the ocean of divine love. That is the reason behind how Shri Krishna, although he is still Supreme God, can live in the house of Yashoda Maya and need her to teach him how to walk. She has to put her finger like this, and he has to hold it, otherwise he's going to fall over. And if he's not holding, he's very unsteady. He takes 1 or 2 steps and falls down and then tries to get up again. Supreme God, yes, his almightiness is now completely submerged in the power of divine love, which means now the only thing in his consciousness is his love for his devotees. And according to the style of love they have for him, he loves them the same way in return. So Mother Yashoda loves him as her own son, therefore he is her son. He has no consciousness of being Supreme God. He still is Supreme God, but just like there are times when you're really with your loved ones, when you're having fun, doing something, playing something, you forget what you are at work. You might be the CEO, you might be some IT support department, you might be a doctor, but there are times in your life where you're so absorbed in play or in love where you just forget about your status at work. Shri Krishna forgets about his status in the love of his devotees. This is why Premanand, the attainment of that Prema Shakti, that is the ultimate goal of a soul, because you end up on the same level with God. God gives himself totally to you. So Shri Krishna is Supreme God. He himself is himself, Shri Krishna, Bhagwan. He himself is Paramatma, Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu also has many affiliated almighty forms. Shiva, Durga, Kartikeya, Ganesh, Lakshmi, Parvati, Saraswati. These are all affiliated almighty powers. So we put them in that almighty category. And the same Shri Krishna is formless when all of his powers are dormant. But one shouldn't think that he switches back and forth, like he decides, okay, today I'm going to be Nirakar, and then, oh no, now I have to become Krishna, now I should become Shiva. He exists eternally, permanently in all of these forms. And he's omnipresent in all of these forms. So that's the amazing divine potency of Shri Krishna's Yogamaya Shakti that allows him to exist in this way. But we just categorize all of this into three: Brahm, Paramatma, Bhagavan. So with this model, we can understand all the various forms of God. We start by separating out the Devtas because they're not God at all. In English, you would say God with a capital G is Bhagwan, and God with a lowercase g is Devtas, because in English sometimes we call them celestial gods. But that can be confusing because you're saying God, but you don't mean God, you just mean the administrators of Swarg. And you say celestial gods, you put an S on the end. That's fine. You can do that with lowercase g, God. You can't do that with Bhagwan. You can't say, why are there so many gods? Prashna hi galat hai. There are not so many gods. There are so many forms of God. One God has many forms. Bhagwan ke anant roop hain. In the Bhagavatam, let me take a couple more minutes, literally 5 more minutes, and explain one more technical aspect. We'll go into a little more detail. In the Bhagavatam it says, Ete chanchakale. Shri Krishna is Supreme God. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Ete chanchakale punsah Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Avatarahya Sankhyeya Hare Sattva Nidher Dvija. Bhagwan Shri Krishna, Swayam Bhagwan, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. वो स्वयं भगवान है, बाकी सब भगवान है. In this model, we're not saying Brahm, Paramatma, Bhagwan. In this model, Veda Vyasji is saying all the forms of God are Bhagwan, but there's one Swayam Bhagwan. There's one Supreme God, absolute Supreme God, and He has many other forms. So He has uncountable avatar. He takes all these other forms and appears on earth or appears in Swarg to perform certain tasks. Just like a lake could have thousands and thousands of rivulets emerging from it, but they are all coming out of the same source. So all the forms of God are swanch of Shri Krishna. They're His ansh. But that doesn't mean they're a piece of Him broken off. Like Mahavishnu is 25% Krishna, and this form of God is 10% Krishna. No, they're all 100% Krishna, but He's just revealing a part of Himself, not Himself in totality. He's revealing a part of His qualities or a part of His power. So we say, oh, it's a part of Krishna. It's His ansh. It's still Krishna. Just like you may be a university professor in English literature, but when you're teaching your 6-year-old how to spell A, B, C, D, you're not using your total power. You're not revealing in complete who you are. Similarly, Shri Krishna doesn't reveal Himself in totality in all the other forms, only as Shri Krishna. So they are His ansh, but they're His swa-ansh, swanch. They're a direct part of Him, not someone else. We're His vibhinnansh, because we are not God. We're a part of God's Jeev Shakti. So we're distinct from Him. We're an indirect ansh of God, All the forms of God, all the avatar, they're a direct ansh of Shri Krishna. So that Supreme God, Shri Krishna, his very first avatar is called Pratham Purushavatar. It's also called Karanarnovashai Mahavishnu. He takes this form in order to create the entire universe. And in this universe, he creates uncountable pockets in the space where a Brahmand is going to form. Then he takes his Dvitiya Purushavatar, his second avatar, where he becomes omnipresent in the Mayic energy in the entire universe. And then is his Tritiya Purushavatar. His third form is called Kshirodashayi Vishnu. He descends as Vishnu in each and every Brahmand, in each and every planetary system in this whole universe. To do what? To take the process of creation further, to take Srishti further ahead. So he establishes a branch office of his divine abode in each Brahman. His divine abode, Shri Krishna's divine abode, is called Golok, Vrindavan. Mahavishnu's divine abode is called Vaikunt, but he establishes a branch office of that Vaikunt in each and every Brahmand. It's called Kshir Sagar. So he comes and he sets up his office there. Then he produces Brahma and instructs Brahma to finish the creation of that Brahmand. Brahma is only the creator of one little Brahmand, and there are uncountable Brahmas. One time, Brahma of our Brahmand came thinking that, oh, Bhagwan Shri Krishna has taken avatar on my earth planet, so let me go and visit him. And he had a kind of pride. I'm Brahma. I'm going to go and call upon Shri Krishna. So as he approached the gates of Dwarika, he was stopped by the gatekeeper, and the gatekeeper asked, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm Brahma. I've come to meet with Shri Krishna." "Okay, let me go and tell him." So he told Shri Krishna that someone named Brahma has come to meet you. He says he wants to have your darshan. Shri Krishna said, "Ask him which Brahma is he." So he went back, he asked, "Prabhu wants to know which Brahma are you?" What does he mean, which Brahma? I'm Brahma. Using his Yogmaya Shakti, Shri Krishna summoned all the other Brahmas in the universe. Unlimited Brahmas started coming from all directions towards Dwarika. And our Brahma is one of the smallest. He only has 4 faces. Depending upon the size of the Brahmand, the Brahma has more power and he has more faces. So you can have Brahmas with millions of faces and everywhere in between. So our Brahma was awestruck seeing all these other bigger and better Brahmas coming from all directions. And then he realized, oh, I'm just like a speck of dust. My Brahmand is like a speck of dust in this endless universe. So there's one Brahma, one Vishnu, and there's even one Shiva in each and every Brahmand. So Trimurti, which we call the 3 governors of a Brahmand, remember I quoted for you yesterday? Jag pe khan sab dekhan hare vidhi hari shambhu nachavan hare. Vidhi, Hari and Shambhu, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, they are servants, they are ansh of Shri Krishna. They do his bidding here in this Brahmand. And there's one Vishnu, one Shiva, one Brahma in each and every Brahmand. So to recap, Shri Krishna has his Pratham Purushavatar. He becomes Mahavishnu and creates the entire unlimited universe. Sa ek eveshwarah narayano khila brahmandadhipati rekonsha. Ved says that Mahanarayan, Mahavishnu, who is the creator of Akhila Brahmand, unlimited Brahmans, he is Ekaha Ansha of Shri Krishna. Vishnur Mahan Sa Ihayasya Kalavisheshah Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Brahma Sanghita. Brahma is praying, asking for Shri Krishna to give him the power and the knowledge to be able to complete the creation of his Brahmand. And he says, Shri Krishna, Govinda, you are the Adi Purush. You are the source of all the forms of God. Mahavishnu, whose one breath is equal to the life of this great universe, he is but a tiny fraction of one of your powers. So Shri Krishna becomes Mahavishnu, creates the whole universe. Then his second avatar, he becomes omnipresent in the universe. That's called Dvitiya Purushavatar, also called Garbhodashayi. Then he takes his third avatar, which is actually present in each and every Brahmand. He becomes Kshirodashayi Vishnu. It's called Tritiya Purushavatar, the third avatar. And it is Tritiya Purush, Vishnu, in Kshir Sagar, who takes the form of all the avatars that have to happen from time to time, like Matsya Avatar, Vaman, Narsingh. All these forms which have to happen in order to accomplish something here on earth, these are avatars of Vishnu, of Kshir Sagar. And they keep repeating in every manvantar. The same avatars keep repeating. But once in a kalp, once in a whole day of Brahma, more than 4 billion years, Swayam Bhagwan, Shri Krishna, comes on earth. So that's very rare. And that is not the avatar of Vishnu. It's wrong to say Vishnu takes avatar as Shri Krishna. Shri Krishna is avatari. He's not anybody's avatar. All the others are his avatar. He is avatari. He's the one who takes all of those forms. So this is the complete and total description of all the forms of God. This gives you, I gave you a couple of models for you to categorize how all the different forms of God fit and how they are all forms of one single supreme God, Shri Krishna, whose own self and whose own soul is Radharani. Bolo Shama Shyam Ki Jai. So tomorrow I'll go further ahead on this topic and ask the question, are all religions the same? Nowadays, it's become politically correct to say, oh, it's all the same. We're going to take a good look at this statement tomorrow and see if there are any distinguishing characteristics that would set Hinduism apart, or, what are the commonalities, but are there also distinguishing features of Hinduism as compared with other religions? This is important to know. If we just say it's all the same, we're doing a disservice, actually, to the greatness of Sanatana Dharma. So while we do want to respect other religions, we also want to highlight the greatness of Sanatana Dharma. So we'll do some kirtan.